Buffalo Sabres, Calgary Flames tonight. In the Discover Card Key matchup, get your free credit scorecard today. Even if you're not a Discover customer, won't affect your FICA credit score. Discover.com/credit scoreboard. Limitations apply. So Kansas City is favored by a field goal at home this weekend against New England. And I'm reading stories about, Andy Reid's only 2-6 against Belichick. It should be noted, Belichick has coached 342 games in the NFL. And 7 times he's surrendered 40 points. Andy Reid's got 3 of those. Andy Reid's given him trouble. In Kansas City, he's 2-2, 2 blowout wins, and 2 very narrow losses, including a game in New England earlier this year. There were moments you thought they were going to win that football game. So he's 2-2 against Belichick. He's outscored New England and Belichick since he arrived in Kansas City. This is not a coaching disparity. Andy Reid's, in my opinion, as good a coach as the NFL's ever had that has not won a Super Bowl. In fact, I think he and Don Coryell, who coached the Chargers for over a decade, are the 2 great coaches in the NFL, Marv Levy perhaps, that don't have a Super Bowl. And the gap between what fans and many media think of Andy Reid and what executives in the league do is the Grand Canyon. He, along with Sean McVay and Sean Payton, are the 3 best play designers in the NFL. He's got a tremendous eye for personnel. He's considered the best teacher. Every player with Andy Reid gets better. Quarterbacks get better. Quarterbacks play their best. His coaching tree is phenomenal. But in sports, if you don't win a Super Bowl, you get dinged. I get it. Marv Levy got dinged. Eric Coryell's not considered a Don Shula because he got close, could not win a Super Bowl, and Andy gets dinged. I will say this, though, and I love Andy. He's got to win this weekend. Okay, there's 5 advantages for Kansas City going in. Number 1, they're at home. Go look the last 5 years in the NFL. Home matters a ton at this point in the season. Number 2, they've got an MVP at quarterback, playing his butt off. He is not at a debit to Tom Brady. Number 3, they have a significantly better offensive roster in an offensive league. They had 7 players make the Pro Bowl, 4 all pros, which is the real list. The other thing that I think are advantages for Kansas City is, number 4, is the Patriots are coming off virtually a perfect performance. You almost never see it in the NFL. In fact, one of my rules when I do my Blazing 5 is, who was great last weekend? They generally come down to earth. Who was terrible last weekend? They usually go back to their normal spot. New England played the best football game I've seen them play ever in their dynasty against a talented team. They did everything perfectly. New England was perfect. You don't duplicate that in the NFL. And number 5 is they have an extra day of rest and preparation. You don't think buys matter? An extra day for Andy Reid and that staff to find some tells, you throw in a couple more play designs. It's an advantage. Perhaps not huge, but there's 5 advantages. And here's the thing to come full circle. There are people that I have supported. Jim Harbaugh, for instance. I've supported Jim Harbaugh. And I've said Ohio State's a better football program historically than Michigan. Michigan's a great university that has football. Ohio State's a great football program that has a university. Ohio State's a better football program. Okay? Bottom line here is Jim Harbaugh has to win now because Urban Meyer retired. This year, I'm going to be rough on Jim Harbaugh. He's got to win the Big Ten. You can't have Ryan Day beat you. Giannis, I've been hearing for 6 years how great Giannis is. LeBron left the East. You now have to win multiple playoff series and get to the Eastern Conference Finals. If 60 Minutes is going to do pieces on Giannis being the next great star in the league, LeBron's out of the East. You have to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, and you probably need to win it. Sorry if you can't beat Victor Oladipo and the Pacers, Al Horford and the Celtics. LeBron did by himself. You have good players in Milwaukee, a legit coach, good GM, win the East. And the third is Andy Reid. At home, MVP quarterback, superior personnel. New England coming off a game you cannot duplicate in this league. It doesn't happen, and you have an extra day. And he's got to win this weekend. And I've never felt that. I think there's a lot of big games. But this is one, if Andy loses, I can't come on the air Monday and go, come on. These critics, it'll be like, all right, they looked a little tight. All right, they blew it. For the record, Patriots have 12 draft picks and are in a much weaker division than Kansas City. Okay, so Kansas City is not going 14-2 and 13-3 the rest of the way. At some point, they got to pay some of these guys. And secondly, their division's really good. Their division, New England's going to win 12 games next year. You do get that, right? Sam Darnold may knock him off once with Adam Gase, Greg Williams, great special teams coach, but they're going to win 13 games, 12 games again next year. And he's got to win this weekend. Here's Joy of the News.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herdline News.
So it's no secret that Antonio Brown is likely on his way out of Pittsburgh, and there's a number of teams expected to bid for Antonio this offseason.
Yeah.
According to CBS Sports, one team that the Steelers should expect to get a call from is Seattle.
Why?
Now, Seattle only has 4 picks in this year's draft.
Yeah.
They have a first, third, fourth, and fifth round pick. Now, if Amari Cooper is demanding a first-round pick, I'm imagining a package for Antonio Brown is going to have to be a little bit bigger than that. It's interesting.
No, I think he's a first-round pick. You give up a first.
No, he's a first-round pick, but I think it's more than that. With all the bidders for Antonio Brown, I mean, Antonio Brown is arguably, I mean, he's one or two best wide receiver in the NFL.
Wow, would that be? By the way, they have Doug Baldwin, and they have Lockett. It's not.
I mean, they're
wow.
a running team. It would certainly make things interesting with Russell Wilson. My question is, didn't they just go through this whole transformation of the team with the going to a more quiet, system-oriented team?
It's a very legitimate
It would be
point.
a very confusing move in that regard.
So who's reporting this?
Jason Lockenfor, CBS Sports.
I just want to wait on. I'm not going to say.
There's nothing to overreact to, but it's interesting. If they can put something together. I do think personality-wise, it's kind of a steer off from the direction that they.
Seattle's only got 4 draft picks.
Yeah.
New England's got 12. Good Lord.
But open things up for them.
If you're rebuilding, you got to do better than 4 draft picks. That's not a good thing. Seattle needs.
Well, from that regard, that's why I would feel like it would be a risky move, because they need some other pieces.
Yeah.
So, all right. So the Jets introduced Adam Gase this week, and now it appears that they have found their defensive coordinator as well. According to reports, the Jets are finalizing a deal with Greg Williams, the former Browns interim head coach.
Wow.
He will be the new defensive coordinator in New York, it's being reported.
Hell of a staff.
He was the top target for the position from the beginning of the search. He was the Redskins kind of made a push for him, but he ended up. Well, he will be.
So of the 8 coaches hired, only 2 of the coaches hired so far, new coaches, have won a playoff game. That would be Adam Gase and Bruce Arians. Arians is not in his prime. He's retired and come back. Gase in his prime. And now you have the best defensive coordinator along with Todd Bowles on the market. You got him. And it should be noted the Jets probably have the Rams have a great special teams coach. The Jets may have the first or second best special teams coach in the league. This is a great staff. Whether they win a bunch of games, I still don't trust their general manager. But in terms of offensive guy, defensive guy, and special teams, they have hit home runs.
Well, it's a what have you done for me lately league.
Wow.
And I like this move for the Jets. I don't understand why the Browns didn't keep Greg Williams, other than it's pretty obvious that John Dorsey and Greg Williams were not on the same page, or at least John Dorsey felt like Greg Williams was going to give him a little more pushback than he preferred. So he went with Freddie Kitchens, but I think the job that Greg Williams did in Cleveland definitely merits him. I think it merits him a head coaching job, but I like this move for the Jets.
So do I. No, listen, this is, when Baker came into this league, I said Baker's not going to be a bust, but he's going to have to overcome some dysfunction. We've already seen Cleveland throw out their head coach, their OC, and just give the head coaching job to somebody who'd never been hired as a coordinator. Now, and there's a lot of ego in the organization. If you'd have told me that Sam Darnold would have come in this league and by year 2 had the best special teams coach in the league, a top 5 defensive coordinator, and kind of a Kyle Shanahan clone, if you look at their resumes, I'd have been like, take it. So if you're a Jets fan today, you have got to feel you got to buy more season tickets. You got to feel great today as a Jet fan.
I don't know how Jets fans are reacting to this, but if I know Jets fans, they're probably not very optimistic still. So the Green Bay Packers hired Matt LaFleur to be the head coach of the Packers. He'll be challenged with getting the team back on track after a very disappointing 2018 season. Obviously has to cement a relationship with Aaron Rodgers, and in a conversation with Peter King, LaFleur said he is ready to get going with his star quarterback. He said you could hear the passion in his voice. I believe him when he says he wants to be coached and coached hard. All I really care about at this point is developing a relationship with him, and I think we're both on the same page. He's a competitor, and I cannot wait to get started with him. Do you buy he wants to be coached hard?
Well, a lot of people say a lot of people say, yeah, I'm going to work out this year. And by March, they don't go to the gym. And a lot of people say, I'm going to eat right. And by January 15th, yeah, a lot of people also say this, hey, I can take criticism until you criticize it. People say a lot of things. I look at your actions, and we'll see. I'm not saying Aaron Rodgers is not coachable, but I want to see this.
I think that most players want to be coached.
Yes.
I think that they want input. They want someone who can they can bounce ideas off of. Yeah. I think with Aaron Rodgers, it's clearly a respect thing. If he feels like you respect him and he respects what you have to say, and that in that regard of the relationship, then he will listen to what you have to say. That seems to be his personality type. That seems to be what happened with Mike McCarthy. It got to a point where he no longer respected McCarthy's decisions.
What happens next year if they're 1-3 and 1-4?
Well, you better hope it doesn't start like that. But that's the delicacy of that kind of personality, that they don't want to push through those times. They start to doubt it and then rely back on their own genius. Because, I mean, how long has Aaron Rodgers been told that he's the best quarterback in the league?
A long time.
So, I believe he wants to be coached, but you have to have the right personality to infiltrate that kind of personality. So we'll see.
Joy with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Live
If
News.
you're a Patriot fan this morning, I of course am not a fan. I am a judge, impartial. The audience is...
you're impartial towards Tom Brady?
I am completely impartial. But you would have to feel great if you're a New England fan. You're playing with house money. You're an underdog. You've been a great cold weather team. If you are a fan of Kansas City or lean emotionally toward the Chiefs, it has to be a nerve-wracking time. And with that, Kansas City resident for a long time, grew up there via the Coward Global Satellite Network. Nick Wright, first things first, co-host. All right, let me guess. I want to hear you. I broke it down brilliantly in the opening segment, which is every dynasty.
Oh, you did.
Every dynasty needs a break. Nick Saban's faced a bunch of powers in the SEC who can't get coach right. Shaq and Kobe get a divorce, allowing Duncan to dominate. And Steph signs a teensy contract after he hurts his ankle, which allows them to fortify their bench, get Kevin Durant. And New England, yes, has had a little bit of a break in a dysfunctional division. But you are not by any stretch overconfident this week, are you, with New England?
Well, no, I'm not nearly as confident that the Chiefs are going to beat the Pats as I was certain they would beat your beloved Indianapolis Colts. And wake me when Andrew Luck plays a good playoff game on the road, and wake me when he plays a competent playoff game outdoors. But I guess that's neither here nor there. That's a discussion for next year when it's someone's fault other than his. But the Chiefs are the better team. The Chiefs do have the better offense. They do have the better quarterback. They